This video is to go over a problem from the Building Java Programs book. We are working in Chapter 7, which is about arrays, and exercise 17 is called vowel count. And this is a really important problem that summarizes a lot of what you've learned in Chapter 7. And it's what I call a histogram problem. And you may remember from grade school math, histogram is where you have it's kind of draw. It's basically a chart, right? It's a chart that shows you how many things fall into what categories. In this case, we're counting vowels. Okay, so we want to know how many of the vowels A, E, I, O, and U there are in this string. So there's one A. It's over here. Okay, and there's three I's. So here's one I. Here's two I's, there's the third I, okay? So we are going to use arrays to figure out, to store this. So let's get started with just some basics here. So first of all, we know that we're going to need an array. Okay, so what is the array going to contain? Some people might think you need an array for every character in here, but you got to think of what's the end goal. The end goal is to return an array with these 5 elements, okay? So we know we need an array for of 5 characters, A, E, I, O, and U, okay? So we're going to have to allocate that. And then we are going to have a way of checking whether each of these characters are one of those 5 characters. Okay, so we need to go through all of those characters. So we need a loop over the characters in the string, okay? And inside that loop, we want to, if char is one of the vowels, increment that count, okay? And there's only 5 boxes here. Again, people get confused. Oh, I've got like, I don't know, what is it, 20 different letters? And I got to figure out a place to store 20 different letters. No, you don't have to store 20 different letters, okay? You're just dealing with a bunch of counts, okay? So I'll start you out. So these need to be integers, okay? Some people think they need to be characters. That's not right. You just want an integer array, okay? Call it counts. And we're going to have a new integer, okay? And how many elements go in here? It's going to be 5 elements, okay? So that's going to automatically allocate the array, and it's auto filled to 0. That's very important, okay? Now, this loop here, what's that loop going to be? Is it going to be a for loop or a while loop, okay? So we know exactly how long this string is, so it's determinate. So we know that we don't need a while loop, so you should really do a for loop, okay? How do you, what's the extents of this loop, okay? You're going to be starting from index 0, and you're going up to, but not equal to, the length of this string, okay? And then how do you get each character? Okay, remember from strings, you remember that char at, okay? So inside here, the simplest way to do this is to have 5 separate tests, okay? So you need a test for A, you need a test for E, you need a test for I, and let me scroll. Separate test for O, and a separate test for U, okay? For each of these, you're going to have some if, da-da-da, right? If it matches it, then you have to increment the appropriate element here, okay? So what is the appropriate element, first of all? So you just arbitrarily assign 0 is A, okay? That's going to be index 0, and U is going to be 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So you're going to have to, somewhere in here, you're going to have to store it into counts. And I still see a lot of students, not a lot, but a few students who don't quite understand how do you refer to an array element, okay? So always put the name of the array first. Got to have the name of the array. And then you want square brackets. Arrays always have square brackets. And we just have to figure out what is the appropriate index here, okay? Some people get confused because they think, oh, a loop. So I must have to put like the index in here. No, that's not always the case, okay? in this case, that index that you would be using for this loop here is this index into this array here. That's a different index than what we want here. We don't actually want to put it into the index that we're using to loop through here. We actually wanted to store it into whatever A goes into. Okay, so A is going to be index 0, right? So this will go 0. Okay, that has to be incremented. Similar for E, I, O, and U. And then don't forget, of course, you need to return that that array. But and so this is straight. This in itself is a challenge. Okay, I understand that. I'm not going to give you any more. You're going to have to figure it out on your own, based on what you've seen in practice so far this chapter. You should be able to do this. But I also want to point out there's a much simpler way of doing this. You can actually replace all of these lines of code with a single line of code. And I'll give you this hint. Take a look at the string class. See if you can find a way that you can use a string function to figure out in one single call any of these letters, okay, to figure out if it is one of these letters, to figure out the right index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, that needs to be incremented. Okay? It is possible. That's all I'm going to tell you. All right, but the straightforward way is you're going to have a loop over these characters. Okay? Please use intelligently named variables. Okay? And because it'll maybe tell you that what you're looping over here, okay, is the source index, source string index, okay, versus here, this is basically a vowel index, okay, so they're different things, okay. All right, so if you found this useful, please like and subscribe. I have a complete curriculum for building Java programs, all the chapters, and I do a lot of these practice sets.